welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Tuesday. It is How to Tarot Tuesday. What that is it's a video series here on my channel where every week we discuss one of the 78 card tarot. And the beginning of the video, we talk about the meanings and the symbolism in the card. And what I do is I pull 3 tarot decks that I think best represent the card in question. The first deck is always the Rider-Waite Smith, which is the traditional tarot deck. And then the other 2 decks are more current or modern decks that have the art, where the art represents, where I think the art represents the card that we're discussing. The first half of the video is where we talk about the symbolism of the card. But the second half, you, the viewer, get to choose from the 3 tarot decks. And we'll go ahead and do a quick spread to see how this card manifests in your life. So today we have a very special card. There's several cards in the minors that when you see it, it just brings a smile to your face. And today's card definitely does that for me. And today we're talking about the Six of Cups. So to jump right in, the Six of Cups is a really beautiful image. When you look at the traditional Rider-Waite Smith, you see what looks like an older child kind of wearing a stocking cap, leaning over and talking to a younger child who looks, the older child looks masculine, the younger child looks feminine. And what you see is you see 4 cups in the forefront, 1 cup up on a pedestal, and then you see the last cup being given from one child to the other. In the background you see buildings, and you see what looks like a little bit of a garden. It's not really green, but there are definitely, some flowers there in the cups. And then you see the two characters there. Now, one thing that's interesting is that when you look at the 6, there, just like the 6 of Swords, there are 3 characters in this image. It's kind of hard to tell, but the last character is off in the distance, right? And what's interesting is this person who's standing, beyond the children kind of looks a little bit protective, right? It looks like they're standing guard, or and when you look at the buildings, they look a little bit like a castle, right? But the 2 children are very interestingly dressed. They're kind of dressed a little bit more, with like cloaks, but it definitely looks like a happy scene. And even though there's not a whole lot of greenery, you get a sense of a lot of joy and camaraderie. So when you first see the 6 of Cups, the first thing that you think of is innocence. It's one of the few cups that actually has just children as the main characters, other than the pages. And you just see kind of this generosity. You see one person kind of giving a cup to someone else, right? And you see the expression on their faces. They're so close together, and it's almost as if he's smelling the flower or trying to give it to her. Also, similar to the 2 of Cups, the expressions between them, the eye contact just looks so happy, right? It's really a beautiful image when you look at it up close. But the first meaning of it is that it usually means, kind of childhood, kind of a childlike innocence. A lot of times it can mean being with a young person. I usually see this card as being those kind of moments. Like, I always think of those moments when you share your interests with your children. I always, when I see these cards, I usually think it's those moments in life where your experience of life is blessed and made brighter by children or even teenagers. It's interesting. I don't have any children of my own, but I have nieces that I'm very close to. And it's amazing how my little niece, when she gets excited about something, or I always say that she keeps me hip, right? She tells me what the coolest trends are. She tells me about, like, what was it the other day? We were talking about TikTok, and there was a latest TikTok trend. And she's also been very big into Squishmallows. But she brings so much joy to my life because she shares her interest with me, and it makes you feel young again, right? It's like sharing and kind of having that sense of youthfulness, kind of living vicariously is what I'm looking for. There we go. So a lot of times it's like when your kids share those memories. We'll get to it later, but when we get into a situation sense, it can be the passing on of a tradition to a child. Like, for instance, maybe we just came out of the holidays, but maybe you had a tradition of decorating the tree, and then you teach your children how to do it, and then they start doing it, and it really just takes you back in time, right? It's the tradition carried down from one person to another. A lot of times it's like feeling really carefree. My mom always had the saying, when she used to say, be stupid like a child. And she doesn't mean stupid in a condescending way. She means in like don't worry about what you do. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, right? That's the kind of energy that you get from the Six of Cups. It's like sometimes we go into situations that we have all this conditioning where we think, okay, if I go to do this, I need to do it ABCD way because I'm an adult and that's how I think. I remember, this always reminds me, when I was a teenager, I took after school in my senior year, I took a 90-hour course that would allow me to teach kindergarten. And one of the exercises in early childhood development was I was asked to do, when you think of a toddler, someone who's 1 to 3 years old, they're learning they don't know how to grasp utensils. Like, they don't know how to hold a fork, hold a spoon. They kind of, and you see it, it's so cute. They take the palm of their hand and they just kind of grab food and, smash it in their face. And it's the most adorable thing ever. But, because they're learning their fine motor skills. But what I was asked to do was to experience things like a child, meaning that I actually ate ravioli. Like, I got a can of Chef Boyardee, heated it up, to a mild temperature. And instead of using a fork or knife, instead of using a fork, I had to force myself to do it. It felt really uncomfortable, right? After, I'm not going to tell you how many years of using a knife and a fork, to hold something in your hand and feel it squishing through your fingertips, that's very sensatory. And that's what I kind of think of when I see the Six of Cups. I think of doing something and not worrying about whether or not it's, socially couth or thinking it just feels good, right? It feels good. It doesn't matter what the right thing to do, what the adult thing to do is. The other thing that you see with it is it's kind of that playful activity when you actually play. And again, this can be with children, it can be with your friends. When you actually laugh at something, like you again, that carefree feeling that you feel like a child, right? You feel like stupid like a child, like you're just happy like a child. The other thing that it can mean is receiving goodwill. So again, when you see the cup being handed to someone, it can mean that someone is being caring towards you. It can be someone who's acting very charitably and, doing something really amazing. I saw this really interesting video. I'll try to find it and post it. This is going to sound like a strange story. I just scrolled past it on Facebook and I found it and I thought it was so interesting. There was, if you're in North America, we're in pandemic world. There's this woman in Pennsylvania who, there was an antique chair that this picture of an antique chair, and to be honest, it's not a real pretty chair. It's a little weird in the way that it looks, but it's this chair where the slats on the back of the chair are in the shape of fish, and they're like pastel colored fish, and the seat is real bright. It almost looks like a pincushion. It's so, and again, it's more of those real pastel colors. And this woman in Pennsylvania had seen one picture of this chair, and she loved this chair so much that she had a tattoo of it made. A tattoo. She inked her body with a picture of this fish chair, right? And she just really felt like, and granted, just to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, I believe in feng shui, if you study feng shui, it's about the energy. Energy is almost like waves of water, waves of air, and it's like invisible, like air. I like to think of it as like when you're driving in the car and you put your hand out the window and you use your hand to just kind of ride the waves of air. That is what chi, chi, is. It's energy, right? Energy that flows around things. And the study of feng shui is a study of how you decorate or position furniture in a room, and it can also apply to the way that your house is located, right? All of this plays into it. I know it's a very large new age kind of thing. But it's really interesting, and I got obsessed with it, and I read a lot about it. But what it is that energy can connect itself to objects, just like if you like stones, right? Like if you're new age and you like cards, you probably like stones, right? And stones have energy to them. I am a firm believer that pieces of furniture have energy, right? I do. I believe it. I think it has good chi, or chi that is compatible, like energy that's compatible with you. Just like when you adopt a dog or buy a dog, you just know you get along, right? And it's interesting. My bed and my dresser, I bought both pieces of furniture from this antique dealer, and my dresser, both my bed and my dresser, I knew they were meant for me, right? And it's interesting. I wasn't my day job, I wasn't making a whole lot of money when I fell in love with my pieces of furniture. And I saved up, and it was either like a tax return or me squirreling away money, and I bought my dresser and I bought my bed frame. And I'll tell you guys, there's energy in things. There's energy in things. And I just knew the dresser. It's funny, I sent a lot of emails to the owner of the antique shop going, please don't sell it. Just put it in the corner, don't put it out on the main floor. I'm coming for it. And I kind of feel that way with, oh, I'm sorry, back to the fish chair. Sorry, went off on a tangent. I will timestamp that where if you want to skip over it. But the fish chair, this woman had seen a random picture of it. It's like a rare antique chair. And she felt that kind of soulmate, I won't say twin flame, but I'll say kindred spirit soul bond to this chair. And she decided to have it inked on her body. She had it on her calf, right? And what happened was the antique chair went up for sale. It went up for sale, and it's interesting. 6 women in 6 different places knew about this woman. I think it was on the news or something. Knew about this woman who had the tattoo of the chair. And they did a GoFundMe. They saved up enough money to buy the chair. And then this is the coolest part. In pandemic world, they did a 6-leg. They all lived in different areas of Pennsylvania. So what they did is they each drove like about 20 miles, and then they'd hand the chair off to the next woman, who handed it off to the next woman, who handed it off to the next woman. And then the last lady who helped save up the money to buy this chair for a complete stranger, nobody knew the woman who had the tattoo. They drove the chair to the lady with the tattoo. And it was just meant to be, right? That's the kind of goodwill that I sense from this. It is, because cups are emotion. They're like the inexplicable, the indescribable. And I just think of it, when you look at the high priestess, she's standing on the moon, and the moon rules the tides. Sometimes you don't know where you get an inkling to do something, but you just do it. And it's that kind of goodwill. It's like that cup, that heart-centered goodwill. So it's doing a good turn for another. A lot of times it's being a good Samaritan. And it's sharing what you have. That's the other thing. When I see this card, it's almost like, if you have 2 TVs and you know somebody who needs a TV, and you say, hey, I heard that you could probably use this. It's in great condition. Do you want me to bring it over? It's someone, it can be receiving a gift, because again, but the thing is, you see 2 people, it's like it's like a platonic kind of kindness. It's not like, you know, you're in love with this person. You know, if you see this around the Two of Cups, you can definitely see that. And actually, when we get to the middle deck, it's a little bit more romantic. But a lot of times it is feeling blessed. I do also see with the cups, it's almost like the universe is looking out for you, like the exact thing that you needed came to you when you needed it, or you were able to give something to someone else. I see this a lot. You know, it's funny, over Christmas, I got a Lego set that I wasn't really going to use. It was a little bit of a novelty gift. It was meant, you know, in good fun, not really meant for me to assemble it. And I have a good friend whose son loves Legos. And I just called her up and said, "Hey, can I send this to you?" And she's like, "Yeah, he'd love that." Sent it right out. It's like, you know, I do see this as like when gifts are given from the heart and you know that they went to a good home, they went to the right place. I see that a lot with this card. Now, as we move on to the next deck, this is really interesting. The second deck, I went with the Linestrider Tarot by Siolo Thompson, and I really love this image. Now, first off, you do see the real grand kind of building in the background. It almost looks like a church here. And this is so cute. Here you see two lemurs. And I know that's such a rare animal. I thought that was so neat. And two lemurs, and you see one lemur, and the eye contact is real strong here, right? And you see someone handing a cup to the other lemur, and it looks like a boy and a girl, right? And this is where it's beautiful, because the Six of Cups can have a romantic context. But the big meaning of the Six of Cups, because it means innocence and because you see children, sometimes the Six of Cups, especially when it looks like this, and you can take the artwork into consideration, is that sometimes it can mean childhood sweethearts, like someone that you've loved since way back in the day, right? So a lot of times it's like a lover from your past. So that's another thing that really kind of means when you hear a lot of readers talk about that. You talk about somebody that you knew in your childhood. Now, what's really beautiful, and the reason I love this card, and this is really one of my favorite cards, is that sometimes it can be, again, it can be a high school sweetheart. Sometimes it can mean your very first love. The other thing is that with the Six of Cups, the Six of Cups definitely means a rekindling of love. Like someone that you felt really close to in the past, possibly in childhood, right? Possibly from the time before you had, you know, many other romantic experiences, because again, the innocence of this card, it's not sexual, it's not, you know, it's romantic, but it's not, you know, it's not real gritty the way that it is sometimes. Again, it's not really too adult. The other thing is that it can mean, sometimes when you see this card, it can be a friendship. Like if you see this card come first and then later you see the Two of Cups or the Lovers, sometimes it can mean that a friendship it started off very platonic and then later grew into love. And I forget the name of the quote, the name of the author who said this, but they always say, love is just friendship on fire. You know, I love that quote because it's true. You know, it's like sometimes, you know, also being able to rely on someone, to know that someone is really there. The other thing is that, you know, on a lot of dating sites, they talk about core compatibility, like they talk about shared values. The Six of Cups is definitely a shared value kind of thing. It means that you get along like peas and carrots, right? I always think of I think of Forrest Gump and Jenny from the movie Forrest Gump. We got along like peas and carrots. It's that kind of relationship, right? Now, it can be your besties, right? Like this can definitely represent your best friend. The other thing is, before we move away from the romantic side of this, one other thing that I see come up with this a lot is sometimes it can mean it can mean people who have married one another, divorced, and then married each other again. So again, look at surrounding cards. Sometimes if you see the Six of Cups next to the Five of Wands, it could be someone who drove you nuts and then you broke up and then you got back together and married again. The other thing that I see this is that sometimes I've seen this where, and again, this is another thing that you see on the news a lot, is that maybe someone knew that they were high school sweethearts. They dated in high school, and then they broke up in college or something, and then they both went off and married other people, and then they come back together and get married later in life. I do see that quite a lot. Like they knew that this person was good for them, and their lives just took them in different paths. But then it comes back together. This card is definitely about reunion. It talks a lot about reunion. So when you see that, it's something from your past, something that's familiar. It's like happy memories. The other thing that oh, my train of thought. Oh, also a lot of times. This can be feeling like old school memories. So again, if you see this next to like the Three of Cups, or maybe something that looks like a little bit more of like a party posse card, sometimes that can mean just revisiting your past, like going back to, good memories from the past. And this bridges well into the last card. I went with the Divine Tarot by Yoshitani. And this is actually a really beautiful card. All the cards in this deck are based on fairy tales. And this is the card that talks to, it is actually a Hans Christian Andersen story of the Snow Queen. And what this is these are childhood friends. It's Hans and Gerda, I think. And what it was is that they were best friends. They were neighbors that shared a roof. They lived next door to each other growing up. And they had flowers. They had red roses. And so the story kind of goes. This also does play into reunion, because what it is Hans gets tempted by the Snow Queen. He goes off on an adventure, right? He's tired of the same old, so he goes off on an adventure, and he runs into the Snow Queen. And the interesting thing is the Snow Queen. The Snow Queen in the story really reminds me of the Snow Queen from like the Chronicles of Narnia. There's a lot of similarities. And the Snow Queen has a very cold heart. And what she does is, actually, the story goes in a lot of different tangents. There's a lot of little nuances to it. The other thing that it talks about is like evil trolls that have a magic mirror that breaks into a million pieces. And what it is the mirror shows you only the negative things in life, but something about the mirror breaking and a little shard of it gets in Hans' eye, and then all he can see is negative. So it gets very fairy tale-ish. But the long and the short of it is Hans goes off, and he has many years of seeing only the bad in things. He has adventures. He sees new places. And Gerda goes on an adventure after him to save him, and then they come back, and it's like that familiarity of home. So just like that, meeting in high school and then going off and then coming back together at age 90 and marrying for the first time, it's kind of like that. It's that familiarity. But what I love about this story, and what kind of goes into the third meaning, is that a lot of times it's like feeling like home, like going back to what was safe for you, or what brings back really fun memories. And again, it's about the enjoyment of home and family. And again, if you're hanging out with your high school friends, if you're older like me and you're hanging out with your high school friends, maybe that song from back in the day comes on the radio. It's you feeling like a kid again, right? I always joke sometimes this can be you dressing, like I saw a funny meme that said, the weatherman said it's to dress for the 90s, and it shows this girl who's wearing all this 90s fashion, and I laughed. And it's kind of like that, or hearing your favorite song on the radio. One other thing I wanted to bridge in is a lot of times it can be family tradition, but it's that family tradition that just makes you feel like a kid again. I've said several times on this channel, I lost my dad. He passed about almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And it's been a transition. When he first passed, I was really seeing symbols of him everywhere. I do think he's one of my angels. And it's interesting. There's been several times when I've been feeling really down and out, and I hear things on the radio. It's interesting. I have an auxiliary cord where I listen to my phone, or I listen to my music player in the car, and all of a sudden, for no reason whatsoever, the auxiliary cord will cut out and revert to the radio, and it never fails. Something on the radio, the song on the radio has lyrics that mean something. And a lot of times it's about smiling. My dad did, admittedly, he listened to a lot of country music. He listened to a lot of classic rock too. But there was a song that came on that says, it is a country song, and it's happy is as happy does. And it's like, and it's really, it's upbeat, and it's a happy song. It's just like, sit on a porch swing, and happiness is where you find it. And you have to be silly like a child, stop being so adult. I feel like it's saying, stop being so adult. And it's interesting, there was one time that I was feeling really blue. I was really missing him. I was grieving. And I came across a photograph, and, I heard that song on the radio. The radio clicked on, and it's like, sit on a porch swing. And I found a photo of me and him. And this was on the porch swing in our backyard. And I have this hanging over my desk now. Because I think it's his way of telling me that you have a bright light. You've had a bright light since you were a child. I don't think anybody ever wants you to be unhappy, right? And that Six of Cups is like feeling the way you did when you were a teenager, feeling the way when you were 6 years old. It's funny, I have one other picture where I stole my mother's pantyhose and I put it on my head because I thought I looked like Goofy. Because I thought it was giving me goofy ears. And that's another photo that I have hanging up, because it's like, it really is. It's like, it's like my father saying, okay, you are way too bright of a child. You are way too bright. And it doesn't matter how old you get. It really doesn't. It does not matter how old you are. You can be 5, you can be 50, you can be 105. Do your thing. Do your thing. The other thing that I kind of get with this is that, it's that kind of goodness that cannot be corrupted, right? And especially in this story, it talks about, a shard of there was a cursed mirror that only let you see the bad in the world. And Hans got a shard of it in his eye. And I think in the conclusion of the story is when he sees Gerda, he starts crying, and it washes out the shard in his eye, and he starts seeing normally again. And again, it's like going back to your childhood. Again, this can be revisiting. It can be revisiting an old a house. It can be just memories that make you think about times that were happy. One other dad story, and I knew I was going to be doing a lot of this. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to talk your ear off, but one other thing is that this year, actually just a few weeks ago, we finally got around to settling some of his personal effects. And one of that included boxes of vinyl records. And my dad loved music, and he had such a good ear. And we had a really great, this was well before, right now vinyl is making a real comeback, but this was before it was cool. We had all these vinyl records. He had a wonderful radio record player, and, surround sound speakers, and and all of the audio equipment. And what it was is that he had a great record player, and we were going through all of his records, and there was one album that as we're going through all his records, he has some really rare ones in there, and I was just astonished. I was like, oh my gosh, I remember this one, I remember that song. And it's like going back in time. It's like going back to when you were little. There was Gladys Knight in the Pips Christmas album, and my sister shared with me, she goes, you probably don't remember, but what it would be is that we'd play one Christmas album while we were awake, and then when you go to bed, when quote unquote Santa is coming, when Santa came, Dad would put on Gladys Knight and the Pips Christmas album, and then that's when he was assembling all that crazy Christmas, that's when, Santa leaves all the gifts perfectly assembled, but your parents are up all night cursing like sailors. But he used to listen to that album, and my sister, pretending like she was asleep, would hear that music and associate it with, like, oh, okay, Santa's here, right? Dad's assembling the furniture, assembling all the kitchen set that's made out of fiberglass. But but it's like that. It's those things that take you back. The other thing is that there was one album that was missing. There was one album that I remember so much. And when I was going through his collection of records, the sleeve was empty. And my sister said, "Why don't you check the record player?" And it turns out when we went into the attic and we got the record player out, and there it was. And Jen just smiled because she was just like, you know, oh my God. She goes, Mom used to fuss at him all the time about leaving records on the record player. But the other thing is that I feel like I'm going to be carrying on the tradition. What I'm going to do is I'm going to refurbish his record player and buy albums that were meaningful in my life, and then add to the collection, because my mom's records are there, my dad's, my sister's, and now mine. But that's Six of Cups energy, and I thought that was so amazing that that happened right on the weekend that I'm filming this. But it's definitely, it's just those little simple joys, right? It's just the simple things in life, because that's all that matters, right? So when it comes to people, it can definitely mean someone from your past. It can mean someone that, if you see it around lovey cards, it can be a ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend that's coming back into your life. This definitely is a card that talks about, like, maybe, you know how they always say, if you love something, let it go. It's meant to be, it'll come back to you. That's a big old Six of Cups message, because maybe you and this person were too young, or people need more experience. That's the other thing about the Hans and Greta. Sometimes maybe someone went off and dated other people and then came back and realized that you're a gem and that you've always been there for them, right? So when it comes to people, it can be a lover that comes back, or someone from your past. It can be spending time with a really good friend. It can be the kindness of someone that just warms your heart, or you being kind to someone else. So it can be a good Samaritan type of act. Sometimes it could be your best friend, that person that just takes you back the moment you get around them. It can be you seeing a friend that you haven't seen in a long time. When it comes to situations, it can be, either like me in the records, it can be you visiting your old house or the house you grew up in, or maybe you came across some furniture that you remember, or you sharing a story. Again, it could be you talking to your family. If you see this around like a congregation card, like the 10 of Cups or the 10 of Pentacles, maybe your family sharing stories. The other thing that I get is that when it comes to situations, if I know for a fact I'm kind of the archivist for my family, where I save all the pictures and I do all the scrapbooking. Like I do I try to follow the timelines of when things happen. So sometimes it can be a situation where you're talking to either a grandparent, a great-grandparent, an uncle or something, and they're telling you the story about something. They're telling you about the history of something. Otherwise, it can just be, it can be a family reunion, or a high school or a school reunion. It can be that children are really giving you new experiences. The other thing is, when it comes to a situation, maybe you're sharing or participating on the same thing that you did when you were young. Like if you take your little one to the zoo and you remember how much you loved going to the zoo, sometimes I do see this, and it's cute. Sometimes you see on Facebook when people do those recreation photos. Like I saw this photo where this couple that was sitting on a motorbike in 1945, and then they went back to the same place, and they're older now, and they're sitting on the same motorbike. They like recreate the photo. Same thing with your elementary school friends or your friends. The other thing is just feeling, just having that unbridled joy, like just connecting with your past in some kind of way that the other thing is that it makes you feel like yourself, right? So sometimes it can be those trips that just reconnect you with who you are, reminds you of things really, really warm and happy, carefree memories. And also it can be you dressing like the past. Like I can say that, as a Libra sun sign, everybody has been really obsessed with the 80s. And, if you were a child of the 80s, you're like, oh my God, I remember that. This is how you do it. This is how you roll up the jeans. This is, how you wear the kids, all those crazy fashion trends, how to do it. You know how to do it, and it really takes you back, right? Now, when you see the Six of Cups in reverse, you do kind of see those cups falling out, or pouring out. And you see, anytime a card is reversed, it either means that the energy is blocked, or it's manifesting in a negative way. So the first thing that we think of is, a lot of times it can mean clinging to the past, right? Someone who's stuck in their reverie, right? And it's one of those things where past memories are wonderful. They're really wonderful, but you can't live there, right? You can't live there. There's what is it? There's a philosopher, I think the name is Sonoma, that talks a lot about, and even in meditation and Zen practices, they talk about staying in the present, right? Can't live in the past. That's gone. That's already occurred. You can't look to the future because that hasn't happened yet. All you can do is be in the present and be grateful, right? Be happy for what you have now. So a lot of times it can be, unwilling to accept certain circumstances. If you do see this in a love card, like if you see the Six in the Cups in reverse next to maybe the Five of Cups in the upright, it can mean that maybe you're looking at something through those glasses of being like, well, that was the best thing, that was the best time of my life. It'll never be that good again. It's really almost like a detrimental kind of perception. The other thing is that it can be, if you see this next to cards that are particularly of the water suit, like King of Cups, Queen of Cups, and especially if you see this if you see the Six of Cups in reverse next to the Queen of Cups in reverse, sometimes that can be a sign of a little bit of emotional manipulation. Like sometimes that can be not being able to cut the apron strings to your parents, and that can be male or female. Sometimes people will, it can kind of being forced to be stuck in a past state, like it's not letting you grow. So you're always a child, right? Sometimes in a situation, if you see this in reverse next to certain court cards, sometimes someone is purposely trying to say, well, you don't know what's best for you, I know what's best for you. It's almost like, in a psychological sense, sometimes it can feel like you're stuck in your childhood, position, or in your childhood psychology, and you're trying to break free of that. Because remember, we see that person in the background. These children are not alone. There is someone that seems to be kind of guarding them. And if the other thing is that sometimes that can be you guarding your own past memories. Sometimes it can be a sign of outdated customs or beliefs. And again, in a romantic sense, this could be a sign of, sometimes this can be a sign of prearranged marriages that doesn't make you happy. Because again, it's you holding on to old customs that really, might not be modern. Sometimes, and I'll just come out and say it to put it in a modern context, there's so many colloquialisms that I don't agree with them. I think I'm a big believer in always showing respect. Be respectful to people, never be disrespectful. But you hear the phrase like, okay, boomer, or, you see someone of the boomer generation say, well, those Gen Xers or those Gen Zers, they're ruining their economy. Things like that. That's kind of clinging to old ways of doing things. It's like saying, okay, the way we did things in the past is the way that they should always be done. Right? And sometimes that is romanticizing things, right? I remember I did actually get a chance to visit my old house growing up, and it was amazing how I walked through and I was like, God, this house is really small. But when I was little, it seemed so huge. It seemed so cavernous, and it's not. It was just my perception because I was little, right? So sometimes we do sometimes we romanticize the past because yes, it was a good time in our lives, but it doesn't mean that it's going to last forever. Just the other thing is, let it be what it is. It was a great time in your life, but it doesn't mean that you always have to live there, right? Just file it away in your memory banks and be grateful that you had those good memories. But again, when it comes to a romance context, maybe the other thing is that sometimes when you see this in the reverse, you could be holding on to old hurts that stem from childhood. This can definitely be, it's a overused cliche, childhood wounding, or you're the wounding of your inner child. Sometimes it can be an indicator that you might not have had real good memories growing up, or you know, um, you know the other thing is that in an advice sense, it can be like, let go of the past, don't cling to this, right? um in a relationship sense, the other thing that this really means is, whatever relationships came along, they came along for a reason, and they always teach you things, right? They always teach you things. So maybe this person was not meant to be permanent, right? So you hear a lot of songs talk about that. I'm gonna take the good memories with me. I'm gonna leave the bad in the past, and I'm just going to continue to grow forward. And that's the call to action when you see the Six of Cups in reverse. Don't the other thing is that sometimes it can be giving you a little bit of a wake up call. When you see this card in the reverse, it's like, are you romanticizing this? Was it really? The other thing is, it's asking you, was it really that great? Maybe sometimes we do kind of kick the sand over something, to not remember how challenging it was. And again, that's kind of like the less healthy way of remembering only good and not seeing the bad, right? So maybe you're over romanticizing something, or over grandizing something that may not have been that golden, right? But when it comes to situations, sometimes it can mean that family or past relationships are keeping you down. The other thing is that, the other thing is that, and right now, if you're watching this at the time the video posts, we are about to go in Mercury retrograde. Anytime Venus goes into retrograde, or anytime Mercury goes into retrograde, sometimes that means that you'll either, when Venus goes retrograde, yeah, someone from your past might be popping back up again. But when Mercury goes retrograde, sometimes that can be someone from the past calling you, texting you out of the blue. So that definitely, don't rule it out. The cool thing about Mercury retrograde is that you can fix things that were broken, like communication that was broken from the past. But it can definitely mean like an old lover, someone from the disty, foggy, past showing back up in your life. Sometimes it can mean that something exciting has got to be postponed or delayed. So if it's a family reunion, it could be that, again, if you're watching this at the time it posts in pandemic world, maybe a reunion is postponed or delayed. Maybe something you were really excited about is postponed. The other thing is the Six of Cups in reverse. I always feel like it's that thing that you're really, really looking forward to. I always say it's like summer camp when you're all excited, you can't wait to go. But then, it makes you feel like a kid again. And again, if you see the Six of Cups in the upright next to Pentacles, sometimes it could be that job that just you really, really love. Or again, a vacation or something that you're really looking forward to. And usually it has some kind of nostalgia associated to it. But in the reverse, it usually means a delay of that, or, the other thing is that sometimes in relationship reads, the six in reverse can mean that someone else's past is interfering with your present. You know, like, again, if you see this next to justice or something like that, maybe someone has a, you know, maybe someone has an ex-spouse that's like, you know, has financial ties and they're just never gone. So it's like, again, it's like the past coming to haunt you. Sometimes it can be your family values, like maybe something about someone's family is really affecting your marriage. So definitely, you know, if you see this in reverse, it can be someone, the way that someone was raised, that's really either, you know, and again, that's a caution. You know, when you see it in reverse, that's kind of like a danger, Will Robinson. Okay, pay attention to this. You know, the way this person is acting, is that healthy? Were they raised in the best environment? Is this going to continue to affect your relationship with them? The other thing is that it can be you clinging to outdated morals or values. You know, but the other thing is that it can also be worries about children. You know, like, again, you know, in the upright, it's sharing activities very happily with children, but then that sometimes in the reverse, I usually see that as maybe the things that you like to do, like maybe you love to go to the zoo and you're like, here, let me take my kid, and your kid just looks bored as heck and gives you cries the whole time, and you're like, okay, maybe, you know, what the memories I want to share is not really, you know, what they want to share. Now, the last thing that you see is that when it comes to people or persons, it can definitely be a little bit of the people living in the past, meaning that when you walk into their house, you would probably think they were a little bit antiquated. Like they're just, it's almost, and especially in the verse, it's that person that's a little detached from reality, where they are living in their own, you know, fantasy of how the past was. It can be someone who collects a lot of antiques, or it can be, the other thing that I kind of see with this is that sometimes it can be, especially if you see the cups in reverse next to other pentacle cards, which mean physical possessions, especially if you see the Four of Pentacles upright next to the Six of Cups in reverse, that might be a sign of someone who hoards a little bit, but they do it because it's like, this has sentimental value, or this is worth something someday, but then it's taking over their whole house, right? It's sometimes you can kind of see those kind of you know, that little bit of fuddy-duddy behavior, you know, with the cups in reverse. But whether it's in the upright or in the reverse, it really is a positive card. Every time I see it, I always smile, even if it's up, even if it's you know, reversed. It's a pretty positive card. It has a lot of good juju with it, and I definitely, anytime I see it, I know that it's going to be a carefree, you know, feel like a child kind of moment or situation. But all right, guys, so this concludes the how-to part. We have 3 decks here. The first deck is the Rider-Waite-Smith by AGM Company, and with it we have a beautiful sunstone. The second deck is the Linestrider Tarot by Siolo Thompson, and with it we have a blue fluorite. The last deck we have the Divine Tarot by Yoshitani, and these are all fairy tale based cards. This is a fairly new deck. It was published in 2020, and with it we have a beautiful quartz point. I was really drawn by my intuition to use the Island Time Wellness cards. These are a little bit more of a relationship kind of romance kind of deck, but I listened to what my intuition tells me, and on top of it we have a beautiful obsidian or a dragon glass. So I'll go ahead and I'll do a freeze frame. If you need more time, please pause the video, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. I'm going to go ahead and move up these other decks. And so deck number 1, the Rider-Waite-Smith, how does the Six of Cups manifest in your life? Ooh, it popped right out. Present energy. And this really wanted to kind of pop out here, so I'm going to just read it like that. Future, please. Oh my gosh, this is such a clear story. I'm really curious what your island wellness is going to say. Okay, wow, this is really kind of clear, guys. This is definitely more relationship related. Okay, please clarify. Wow, this is really interesting, guys. Okay, so in the past, there was a lot of attraction to someone. Um, the other thing about the Six of Cups is it can feel like a little bit destined, like it just like the Two of Cups. The Six of Cups can feel a little bit like a soulmate, like again like a kindred spirit, someone that makes you feel really young at heart. And I get the sense that in the past you met someone that makes you feel that way. Someone, it's like when you get around them, you feel like a kid, right? You feel joyful, you feel full of life, you feel like they know how to make you happy, right? You just feel happy. And in the past, it's almost like you met this person and things went really, really fast. Like you felt the zoom, right? You felt connected to this person. It was, full speed ahead. Now, the present energy is really quite interesting. I kind of read this one of two ways. The abundance card came out. So the root of this is you've got the devil, you've got the king of swords, you got the 10 of cups, and then you got the 6 of cups. I'll be honest, guys, if you're a woman watching this can be one of two scenarios. Um, in the past, you might have felt the real zoom towards someone. You might have felt a real zoom towards someone. And presently, this person might be tempted to go back to someone from their past. Again, when you look at the Six of Cups, sometimes that can be clinging to old situations, or it can be situations that are carrying over into your relationship. This person is either clinging to someone from the past, or what I'm kind of seeing here is I feel like someone, you made a real strong connection and it was like zooming. It was like you met this person and things went so fast. You felt like this really great connection. And this person has really fond memories of you. They have such fond memories. Like you are their happiness. You make them happy. But what's happening is this person is being a little bit cold or withdrawn to you. I don't think that you're talking to them very much right now. The other thing that I kind of get is that one other way that I kind of read this is that this person might feel really, this person misses you, but what's happening is that, because what we have is we have the Six of Cups and the Seven of Cups. It's like a transition. This person really has a lot of fond memories with you, but they have obligations right now. The other thing I get is that I feel like this person is making like a lot of money. Um, they're making a lot of money, but it's almost like they're on the outside. They look like they kind of have it all. Like I feel like I'm really getting a strong sense that you met this person and things just moved really, really quickly. But the person didn't really expect to. This person didn't really expect to feel the way that they do about you, and you make them extremely happy. But what I'm kind of seeing here is that it's almost like, the King of Swords is a very head over heart guy. He has to be practical. He can't do anything. He can't act like a child, right? He has to act like a king. And what I'm kind of seeing is that brings about a lot of aloof behavior. Like he can get very withdrawn and he can seem really kind of cold. And what I'm kind of getting is I'm getting that right now he has commitments that he feels really bound to. I do think that these commitments are money related. It could quite be something business related. I don't, as we move forward, there's a lot of pentacles here. But the other thing that I get here is that I'm seeing kind of a root, a stem, and a bloom. this person has a lot of big choices that they have to make, and they don't know what the right course is, but they do know that you bring them a lot of happiness. They feel extremely, like, the memories they share with you are very fond. They have such fond memories. But what I'm almost getting is, I'm getting a sense that things were moving very quickly between you in the past, and then all of a sudden he just got this person, he or she, it can be a woman in this energy too, all of a sudden just kind of almost like a turtle, they just pulled right into their shell, and you don't even, I think it left you kind of, the other thing I get is this might be a little bit of your energy where you got confused. You're like, okay, things were going so well, and then all of a sudden you just kind of, because you felt that happiness too, right? Now, one other way that I can kind of see this is that maybe it's quite possible that you might have met somebody who has a family or has obligations from the past, might have children from the past, and they want to do the right thing. They want to make sure, they don't want to make the wrong choice, but they feel really obligated. The other thing is that I get the sense that this person that I get the sense they want to come towards you. They do sense like their happiness is with you, but something is holding them back. Something's holding them back. And I'm getting the sense that they're really, I'm getting a strong head over heart with this, right? The other thing that I kind of get is that I think they're real tempted. I think they're tempted to go after their happiness, which would be with you. Like, I really think that it's almost like they're torn. I really get the sense like it's these two things. I could either stay in my commitments, which I'm bound to do, or I could just, throw it a caution, because that's the other thing, be like a child, just throw caution to the wind and do what makes me happy. But this person is really, the other thing is they are really in their head about this. They do not want to make the wrong choice. The other thing that I get is that their heart and their head, they have to really put their heart on lockdown to stay away from you, is what I'm getting. The other thing that I get is that I really think that you feel like abundance to them, but the other thing that I get is that this could be someone from the past, right? Like somebody, again, the one other way that I read it is this could be your energy where you were really moving ahead with your life, doing what you wanted to do, and then you met someone who really felt like a kindred spirit, someone that just makes you feel young, makes you feel happy. But this person does also make you feel, it's almost like you feel tied to this person. Again, sometimes the Six of Cups can represent karmic relationships, but not in a bad way. It just means people who, spirits, souls that have known each other in other lifetimes, if you believe in that, but the other thing that I kind of get here is that if there is someone who's being real cold or withdrawn or not talking to you, it's because somebody from their past, they have obligations, and it looks like it's financially related. And they can't do anything stupid. They can't do anything. They can't follow their heart because it would make a big mess. The other thing I kind of get is I think this person does feel really tied down, and I get a strong sense that this person meditates on abundance. Like they say, what I'm almost getting is that they daydream, because these are all daydreamy cards. Yeah, I am getting a strong sense that there's someone that's being real cold and reserved. But the funny thing is, behind that cold exterior, this person has such fond memories of you. They daydream about you. They imagine what life would be with you. But they're really trapped. They have some kind of obligation to someone or something, and I think it's money related. And this is where it gets interesting, is as you move forward, if this is your energy or if this is your person's energy, a decision is going to be made. But wow, guys, you have the Ace of Swords, you have the Five of Pentacles, and you have the Three of Pentacles. think the truth of this situation is gonna come out. Either this person's going to say, yes, I've always loved this. I've always loved, pile one. Pile one is my person. But what it would do is by revealing that truth, they'd have to cooperate more. And it would leave them it would leave them pinched financially. It would leave them thrown out in the cold financially. But they would be willing to do it because you see there's a hand holding a sword and he's the King of Swords. Whoever this is, they really want to do the right thing, because the King of Swords also is the defender of justice, of the truth. And the other thing I get is he does honor, we talked about it. If you want to check out the How to Tarot for the King of Swords, we talked about how he is the guardian, the protector of marriage. Because justice is the sign of Libra, right? And one other thing that I kind of see is that this could be someone who has known you from the past. Again, we talk about the Six of Cups being that someone you met once in your youth, and then you go off and you have your own adventures, and then you later come back to this person. But when you come back to this person, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you're totally financially independent, or that you haven't been through a marriage and divorce, that you might have children to consider. You have to be careful. Yes, this person wants to come back to you wholeheartedly, but it might have repercussions. And that's what I'm kind of seeing here, is that the truth will come out. The other thing that we got is your other oracle, because this is abundance, right? And abundance is the Ten of Cups. It's almost like, I do get a strong sense that someone's kind of daydreaming. I'm getting a strong sense of creative visualization. Someone's trapped in some kind of situation. I feel like it's money-based, where they want to come forward to you. They daydream about you. They see you as their happiness. They have fond memories with you. But if the truth comes out, if the King of Swords holds up the sword of truth in the Ace, if he comes out and says, this is what I want, the Three of Pentacles is about, the Three of Pentacles is like work communication. You know how, and I always think of work communication, it doesn't have to be in a literal sense, but I sometimes see the Three of Pentacles as being that, like you've been through a divorce and you have joint custody of your kid, and one person has to be very clear in their communication, but it's very clinical. Like it's that text like, okay, I'm coming to pick up little Jimmy at 12 noon on Saturday. Just have him ready. I will be there. But it's not like romantic. It's very, but it's that cordial communication that you need to have, and that needs to stay in place. So what I'm getting is that this root of truth, it probably is going to cost this person money, and it's going to require that they cooperate more, but they're almost willing to do that to have that happiness that they had before, right? They're sick of feeling like head over heart. They want to do the right thing, even though it might hit them in the pocketbook. The other thing that I kind of get is it says the snake, which is competition, enemy, clever, malicious, look over your shoulder of the other woman. So what could be happening here is that, again, the Three of Pentacles is kind of cooperation. It's a very practical cooperation. If this is your energy, there might be a third party in this. I really get a sense that someone's trying to make your person miserable, and I'm sorry, that's really harsh. But that's the way the Six of Cups is about that. We talked about that, sometimes, maybe, and I hate to say it this way, but sometimes you see the Six of Cups in those relationships where you dated a little bit and the one person's like, well, let me go out in the world and see if I can find someone better. And then they go out in the world and they get freaking steamrolled by someone, someone really teaches them. And then they come back to you and they're like, God, why didn't I marry that person, before I went off and created all this drama for myself. And again, that's like the Seven of Cups. Okay, which cup do I choose? Because a lot of those cups are very tempting, but you don't know what's underneath, right? Like it's almost like you chose the snake. You know, the other thing about snakes is that maybe they did choose the snake cup. And the thing about snakes is, what do? They charm you, right? They seem on the outside, they seem so hypnotic, and then you go for it, and you know, you might get bit. But the other thing that I kind of get is that this could be someone who's trying to protect you from a third party. That, you know, the other thing I kind of get is that this person probably is aware that this King of Swords is happy with you. Um, uh, I know that's a really harsh read. I'm sorry, guys, but the other thing that I get is that with this past, you know, the Eight of Wands can also be a lot of having a lot of wands in the air, having a lot of irons in the fire. You know, it's quite possible that this person might have been talking to more than one person when they met you, and you know they had, because these are two of the strongest cards that talk about options. You know, and maybe this King of Swords, or it could be your energy, maybe you got into some kind of commitment, you know, or obligation with someone, and then you keep thinking back to someone else from your past, you know. The other thing that I get is that you just kind of want to be happy. You just want to be happy. I do get to think, but the beautiful thing about swords is that the truth will set you free. You know, if you're feeling tied down to a situation, you can make another choice. You can break free. It will take work. Again, I feel like with this Three of Pentacles, I'm getting a strong sense of like very I'm getting a strong sense. It's a teamwork card, but it's like it's like that extra cooperation that you need to take between people to make sure everything works. But you will. I'm getting that you're going to feel like you're out in the cold, or it's going to cost you. But with that snake being there, it's really like I I kind of get the sense that if this is either your energy, or if you're dealing with this male, there's they really want to be with you, but there's someone else, and if they tell the truth, that other someone else is really going to take all their money and make it hard. They're gonna kind of rail on them to make sure, well, you know, you're going to communicate with me and you're going to do this. They're going to make it real hard for this person, but this person is willing to do it. They're willing to do it. I just think that there's a little bit of hesitancy because they want to first off make the right choice for their own happiness, and I don't think they want to involve you or the other person in any unnecessary pain. Um, but yeah, I do think that this might cost this person either in money. I'm thinking more in money. The other thing that it could be is that this person might have to give up a job opportunity to be with you, right? It might pay less, or it might mean, you know, managing their finances differently. But this competition definitely speaks to me. And we do have 1 3 there. We do have a 3. Any 3 can mean a third party situation, especially when the devil's in the mix. But I do see that the future does look bright. Please don't look at this like it's a bad thing. You might feel a little, it might feel like things, you know, to paycheck, but I assure you that living in your truth and doing what you know to be right, you will eventually rebuild yourself. And things won't be a stare forever. And you know, living in your own truth is the most important thing. That's what gives you that happiness, that Six of Cups. And remember, we talk about being innocent, about being, being real, you know. But wow, guys, that was powerful. That was really good. Okay, so deck number 2, we've got the Linestrider Tarot. And I love these little lemurs, just always bring a smile to my face. I love this card. I love the Six of Cups in general, but the lemurs are so freaking cute. You've ever seen that those National Geographic Discovery or the Animal Planet, and you see the little lemurs? They're rare. I think well, I don't know. They kind of look like a cross of a monkey and a raccoon, but they're just so cute. They got the little striped tails and stuff. All right. So deck number 2, Six of Cups. How does this manifest in your life? Ooh, that's clear. Present energy, please. Okay, future energy. Oh my gosh. It's the second time the Ace of Swords has come out in the third position. Please clarify. I get one clarified for the Ace of Swords. Oh, we got 2 9s. Oh my gosh, guys. Wow. Okay. This deck is so well shuffled to get 2 9s. That's crazy. Okay. Wow. Oh my gosh. Why are we getting so much snake analogy? It's not a bad thing. There are no bad symbols. Snakes can also mean regeneration, like a second life, you know, and we talked about that. You know, sometimes the Six of Cups definitely can be, you know, meaning someone coming back into your life. Let's see. Wow, this is kind of clear, guys. Now, this is really quite interesting. I think all 3 piles are probably going to be relationship related. You never know. Sometimes it can be, you know, your past. But what I'm getting is with the Page of Swords, I really get the sense that this is someone, I get the sense that this is relationship related, but it's almost like it started off with texting or direct messaging, like messages, you know, emails or, you know, or writing each other, right? It started off real light, right? The Page of Swords is not a king or queen. He's very juvenile kind of energy, and you think of social media posts or communication through digital means, right? And this is cute. His card, you even see letters that are kind of flying all around him, right? And you look at the expression on his face. He's like, you know, what do I think about this, right? And so what I'm kind of seeing is that I do get a strong sense that this is someone that you used to talk to via text or email, and that was really how you got to know each other. The other thing that I kind of get from this is that it's quite possible that this could have been someone that you met through digital dating, you know, could have been Tinder, you know, any one of the venues that you use to date now. Okay, Cupid, you know, no shame. Whatever, you know, whatever dating site lets you connect with people, and you probably really started talking to this person or getting to know them by the messages that they wrote to you. The other thing that I get is that maybe you did connect. You know, I do kind of see this as being the little bit of the pen pal, you know, kind of energy, where you really just kind of, you know, you really connected to someone, because this is in the past and your present is like fond memories. So I do get a sense that maybe this didn't get too far off the ground. Maybe because this person, I'm getting a strong feeling like this person only texted you, like maybe you didn't see each other so much in person. If you are watching this at the time that the video posts, I mean, this could be, you know, due to the pandemic. You know, maybe you met someone virtually and you know, you never got a chance to meet in person. But I am getting kind of like a strong, like you had a strong connection, but it just never, you had a strong bond. You felt like this person, you felt connected to this person, but it never went through the stages of being more than just messages and emails. But those messages and emails were important to you. You know, if you've ever, you know, it's funny, that's one other thing that I always wish that I had done, is that I had voicemails from my dad, and I usually would go in and resave them, There's several celebrities that I've watched that do that. Like I remember one time watching an interview with Rachel Ray, and she, would say that about her husband when they were dating. She would, every 90 days, she would go in and listen to and resave the messages so she would never lose the voicemails. I'm getting that kind of feeling, almost like maybe you kept the entire you kept the thread of all of their text messages, even if you're not talking anymore. The other thing that I get is that it's possible that maybe this person has a job that keeps them kind of far away, like if they work in the military and they're just stationed in your state, and then they start talking to you, but then after that it became just text messages here and there. But what I'm seeing is, I'm definitely seeing this card in particular. I see this person coming back. I see this person coming back. The other thing that I kind of get is that it's going to be like a surprise to you. I get the surprise element because both on the page of swords and on the lemur's face, you just see her face. The other thing that I get is that this reunion, this person coming back, is going to be real intent, like kind of a little bit up in your face. Like, yeah, I'm getting a strong sense that you didn't expect it. The other thing that I get is that underneath, this is a major arcana card. It's the only major arcana, but you got temperance. I think this person might be coming back to kind of balance things out with you. Maybe in the past they were not able to give you their full attention for some reason, and again, they had to keep it real casual, keep it just text messages. But this person felt the connection. And again, I'm getting a strong sense like you almost thought that they didn't care because the texts, those texts and those messages meant a lot to you. But I think presently this person does want to make things right, like they want to balance the energies between you. If you were made to feel like you were investing more, it's almost like they're going to come back. I'm getting a strong sense that they're going to bring you flowers. And what's beautiful about this scene is that they're bringing you flowers in a cup. So it's very much like the Two of Cups, and the fact that it's like, showing you that they care, handing you that cup of love, but it's also got flowers in it. But the other thing that I get is that, with the temperance here, I do think that with temperance being that angel, I do kind of sense that I do get a sense of divine timing with this too. Maybe you met each other at a time that was just not ideal. Again, I'm getting a strong sense that this person might have to go away for work, and where they just didn't have the time to give you all the things that you needed, like in-person interaction. But what I'm getting here with the temperance is almost like they want to make things balanced again. They want to make things right. They want to come in and say, yes, before I would only text message you, but look, here I am in person. Here are flowers. The other thing I get is that they really want to do things right. The other thing I get is that this person's really divinely guided to do this, right? They're getting that calling. They want to make things balanced with you. And but the other thing that I get is that I just keep hearing over and over again, you probably put a lot of effort into your communication to them, and you probably thought, okay, they didn't reply or they didn't text back, they must not, it must have been one-sided. That's not, but what I'm hearing is that's not true. All of those messages that made you laugh made them laugh too. All of those messages that you sent to make them smile really did they gave them some beautiful memories. And temperance is that, is a recalibration, right? The other thing that I kind of get is, I'm getting a strong sense that the other thing that I'm kind of getting is, let this person come to you. Let this person come to you. They're gonna balance things out. Now, what's interesting here is that in the future, we got another Ace of Swords, and underneath it, we got the Nine of Wands and the Nine of Swords. So, one thing that I kind of get is that, you got some interesting energy here, is that you got wedding rings, and then You got avoiding a conversation, still angry, not dealing, and you see someone who's just not picking up the phone. And then you got girl with a snake, which is empath and narcissist paradigm, being charmed or used, enable boundaries. One other way that I can kind of read this is that anytime someone, if someone is ever being aloof with you to the point that it just, you feel like you're putting in more effort than they are, what I also kind of get from this is that, you know, like girl with a snake, enable boundaries, you know, empath and narcissist paradigm. What I'm kind of getting is that I think this is also, with this being an angel, it's also, I think it is giving you a call to be balanced if this person races back in. Like if this person was only texting you, would never call you on the phone, you know, that's what I'm kind of getting. They never pick up the phone when you call, but they're real quick to text you at 1 a.m. Keep that, you know, it's telling you that definitely it is okay for you to maintain your boundaries. The other thing is that if they kind of race in with love, you know, what I also kind of get with this energy is sometimes it can be a little bit of that love bombing energy. It's like when they're cold, you know, not picking up the phone, keeping it on the surface level. But then when they're warm, you know, they're making it sound like you want to get married. Here's some cup of flowers, and look at the expression on her face. You know, of course, it's like, yes, you know, of course you want to, but what it's telling you is, you know, try to keep, you know, there's really solid love should not have those highs and lows. You know, it should not always be the heights of ecstasy 1 minute and then just the lows of despair because he's not texting back the next, or he or she. You know, it shouldn't be like that. So I think it is kind of saying that if this, all it's saying is that if this person, there seems to be a little bit of a paradigm swing, you know, there seems to be a big swing between their behavior sometimes. And I do think that this is a soul kind of tie, kind of connection. But I think it is just telling you that, because the future energy can kind of be read one of two ways. You got the Ace of Swords, which is clarity. It's like breakthrough. It's like, you know, it is kind of stating the truth, or the truth coming out. And underneath it, you got the Nine of Wands, which looks, and these are both fox, right? These are both foxes. The Nine of Swords and the Nine of Wands. So this is someone who's very much up in their head, and someone who feels like they can't fight this battle much longer, right? They're worn out. So what I'm kind of seeing here is, I read this one of two ways. You could be dealing with someone who's very hot and cold. You feel a strong connection to this person. They bring you really fond memories. In the past, you've had really, really good memories. But I do get kind of a little bit of a Six of Cups in reverse here too, where maybe not all of those memories were good. Maybe this person was acting a little bit flighty or inconsistent. And the universe, and again, I'm called to the fact that this is an angel. The angel is like saying, you know, again, don't go with the highs and lows. Keep it on the level. Keep it on the level. And then, so I kind of read this one of two ways. If this person can show you some consistency, if this person comes back around and says, okay, I don't want to just text anymore, I really want to be there for you, give it some time. Give it some time. Make sure that they're not just showing up with flowers once and then going right back to the up and down behavior. The other thing that I get from this is that really don't make it all about them when they come back around. If if they're showing up out of the blue and you've got plans, or continue to live your life and continue to do what you want to do. Don't make it all about them. And what I kind of see is, in the future, I think that you are going to have a breakthrough, because the fox is about putting yourself first. They're survivalists, right? And they're very cunning. But what I kind of get here is that you got the two nines, right? And they're both fox imagery. The one fox can't sleep at night because they're all up in their head, and the other fox is feeling really beat up and worn out. So one way I can read it is maybe that you start to get real fed up with the hot and cold. You might feel like it might give you a lot of anxiety, the way that you I am getting a little bit of a yo-yo thing here. And the Page of Swords is a real immature person, right? They also know how to talk. The one thing I kind of get with the Page of Swords too, and especially with this imagery, because he's kind of stroking his chin. He doesn't have a beard, clearly a youth, right? This is someone I feel like this is someone who because the page is a learner, this could be someone who's a little bit testing the boundaries. Like they'll throw out a text to see if you take the bait. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but that's how we all learn, right? How do you learn how to flirt, right? You do it by being like, hey, hey baby, what's up, until you do it, how do you know if it works? But what I'm kind of getting is that you really, you might have either flirted with this person, or this person, you know, um, I'm getting more of a sense that they really kind of flirted with you, and it gave you this connection. But so the two ways I can read it is that it might have been something that was a little surface level, but this person made you. The other thing is that this person made you feel like a kid again, right? Especially in your conversations, maybe whatever it is that you talked about, or maybe their sense of humor just really got you to feel youthful. But the universe is asking you to temper that. It isn't that you're not allowed to be aesthetically, super excited and happy. But if this person comes back around, you don't want them, throwing you, one text message, just to see if they can do it. And then, they definitely keep it balanced. And then in the future, if this person levels out, if they can keep it balanced, that you might have a future. Just enable your boundaries. That's the other thing about the Nine of Wands. That's a big thing about boundaries. It's kind of saying don't let this person throw you into fits of anxiety. I do think that there's a little bit of a danger of that. They come back around, you get all excited, and then they disappear again. And there's a great relationship coach here on YouTube who talks about how sometimes, and this is more guys for girls, but assign the genders as they resonate. Sometimes someone can come around and take what they call take your temperature, which is, okay, hey, if I throw a text towards this person, will they respond within 3 minutes and be like, hey, that's like, oh, okay, your temperature is you still want me, so try not to fall into that. I'm not seeing, there's no Six of Pentacles here, so I don't think anybody's breadcrumbing. But I do think that, and I think this person does have fond memories with you as well. But they need to be mature, right? And there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, I don't. Yes, I feel like a kid with you, but I need to be able to build on a solid relationship. Now, one other thing that this could be playing out is that it's quite possible that this person started texting you, but this person might have to balance you with another person, and it's giving your person a lot of anxiety, because what you have here is you have wedding rings and not today, and empath and narcissist paradigm. I'm getting a strong sense that really that you would love to have, marriage with this person, or this person comes around like they would be okay with marriage, but I am getting a little bit that it feeds their ego, and when it feeds their ego after they're done, it leaves you feeling defensive and feeling anxiety prone. And I think what's happening is, in the future, I think you will enable boundaries. I think with the Temperance here too, I think you are very emotionally mature. I think you're able to balance out what you feel, And I think you see what this person does, right? It's just that you care about them. They make you feel, you have such fond memories. They make you happy. Um, but it is just telling you, be very clear, be very clear as to whether or not this behavior is what you want in your life, right? And if this person's coming at you, right, if they're coming, if they, and again, the Six of Cups is about one, sometimes that can be someone coming back after a trip, after a hiatus. Um, you know, One other thing that this can mean here is that it's quite possible that maybe you really felt a connection to someone. They went off and married someone else or got into a serious commitment with someone else, and that person really kind of used them. So now they're coming back to you. But I do still get that energy of, just make sure that they're not playing any games, make sure that they're coming at you true. And because I do think that they know that you would take them back, if they give you the little goo goo lemur eyes, But I do know that you have a good balance about you. And the other thing that you might get is that you, in the future, you might enable boundaries if this person is not acting right, and it's hard for you to do that. It does. It keeps you awake at night, and it makes you feel like you're fighting a losing battle. But the thing about the fox that's good about the fox is that it's about self-reliance, right? The foxes put their needs first. So if this person is not, again, you can care about this person. You can have really wonderful memories. Um, the other thing I'm kind of hearing is an ex is an ex for a reason, but not always. Sometimes people do go out in the world, learn their lesson, from other relationships and come back. So that might be this person's energy. They might have gone out, had their butt handed to them, and then they're like, well, I should have treated you better. That is something that I'm kind of getting here, is that the other thing I get here is that this person might come back and say that I kept everything on such a surface level with you, and I'm sorry that I did that. It's the other thing about the Sword of Truth is sometimes it could be someone who's become telling you what happened, and what happened was that they went out in the world and really they got messed with, and then they come back around. But I do think that, especially with this, girl with the snake, I would say, please be careful with that. Make sure no one's just taking your temperature, that they're really there for you, that they take your calls, when you call. And I think you'll be fine. But I do think that you have that balance. I think that you have that balance. And put your needs first, too. Your needs matter, you know. If they only texted you, then you can only text back, right? Just, and keep it on the level. All right, so last but not least, we've got the Divine Tarot by Yoshitani and the Quartz Point. So deck number 3, how does the Six of Cups manifest in your life? Oh my gosh. Okay, present energy. Oh my gosh. Wow, guys. Future energy. Okay, please clarify that. Okay, wow. Okay. This is really cool, guys. This last deck is actually not as romantic. I think this is more life path related. So let's just go ahead and see. Oh my gosh. That is awesome. That's so perfect. Sword in the Rose. We've had a sword in every single reading. That's pretty cool. All right, this is pretty clear. Oh, here, we'll go ahead and take that too. That really wanted to come out. That makes so much sense, guys. All right. So in the past, you got the Six of Swords, but you have it in reverse. So I think in the past, I'm really getting, I'm hearing that expression that you feel like you can't win for losing. It's almost like you work and you try, but you just, I feel like in the past you just never felt like the winner, right? Like one other thing that I kind of get is that I feel like you've really strived for victory in your life, and victory can take any forms. Maybe victory means having your dream job, or making a lot of money, or living in the location, the locale that you've always dreamed of. Whatever you deem success. I get the sense, I am getting a feeling like you feel like you can't be successful. And in the book, this story is the story of a warrior daughter and her father. And it's interesting. It's like her father, she was a powerful warrior, and she'd always go and win battles. And her father wanted her to stay with her tribe, but she decided to go off on her own. And here in that really plays into this. I feel like maybe growing up, you wanted to go have victories on your own. Maybe you wanted to go out in the world and do things your own way. But maybe I'm feeling like a parental figure, maybe a father or a mother. I'm feeling more father. Somehow said, no, you can't do that. And it really took away your victory. Like you just felt like I'm getting the feeling like you never had your day in the sun, right? You never had your day in the sun. And it isn't for lack of trying. I feel like you worked hard. The other thing is that I feel like you've really gone to battle. Like again, the Six of Wands is someone who's gone to battle and comes back to victory. It's like the victory parade. You just feel like you've never had the victory parade. And I get the sense it's because you've never gotten a chance to. The other thing about the Six of Cups story, because if you watch the intro, this is Hans and Greta from The Snow Queen, which is a Hans Christian Andersen story. And what it was is that they were poor children. They didn't have a lot of money, but what they did is they were neighbors, and they lived next door to one another, and their roof, they shared a roof. And what they would do is they would send flowers to one another. They'd sell flowers and send flowers to one another through the rooftop. And what I'm kind of seeing here, though, is your present energy is that you've got the moon, and then you've got the Ten of Wands, and then you've got the star. And the star has another real childlike, and these both look like Dutch stories. But what I'm getting, guys, is that, and the moon really does represent your deep intellectual feelings, like your deep instinctual, like things that you've really held under the surface. Um, I really get the sense, I think that you do have happy memories, but I get the sense that maybe the other common denominator here is that you see all of these children started working at a really young age. And that's the thing about the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands, so with the moon and the Six of Cups, that can talk a lot about like childhood psychology or childhood scripts that you've never really outgrown. The Six of Cups can be about, again, being held back or feeling a little bit emotionally stunted. And you see with the Ten of Wands in this, it's a little bit of a graphic image, but what it's talking about is, you've in the book it talks about working and working and working, and is the work that you do will lead to prosperity, but will you live to see that prosperity? And is that really how you want to spend your days, right? Is that what you want to do with your energy, right? We're on this planet for how long in our lifetimes, and do you want to spend your life stuck at home not having your day in the sun? It's really about what's important to you, right? It's about what's important to you. And here with the star, the star follows the tower. I think you are having, I am getting a, you know what I'm getting? I hate to say it like this, it might be a little bit of a, I won't even say midlife crisis. Sometimes you can have a life crisis you can have a life crisis at 15, you can have a life crisis at 20. Um, I had a little bit of an identity crisis, not in a weird way, but in your early 20s, it's like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? What do I want to see? Where do I want to exude my energy where it's serving me, right? And where it's giving you what you really want. There's a great, in psychology, there's what they call Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's like this pyramid, and the bottom of the pyramid is like, it is almost a little bit like a chakra, honestly, when I think about it, because like your root chakra is about like your base desires, like having food on the table, having a roof over your head. And then sacral is a little, the next chakra is a little bit more sexual. And then but then as you go through all the chakras, you finally get to enlightenment. And what this is what this really reminds me of is it's those moments in life of saying, well, I never got a chance to do this as a child. Maybe I'm really getting a strong sense that maybe you had to start working really young. Maybe you had to help family, or contribute to things. And it's giving you that thing of saying, okay, what would make me happy? you know and it feels like repressed feelings. Like, again, the moon is like feeling lost emotionally, and 10 of Wands is just feeling like burnt out and tired. And the star is about like having hope that things will get better, or looking up at the stars. If you've ever wished upon a star and looked up at the sky and said, gosh, I just wish, I wish I could do this, I wish I could be this, I wish I could go there. That's I think right now, this pile, I'm getting a strong sense that you're spiritually trying to find yourself. You are trying to discover what would make you happy like a child. And I do think that I am getting a little bit of a sense that you might have had an austere childhood, where maybe you didn't have enough money, or enough, you felt a little bit held back. And you felt like you just couldn't win, right? Like, no matter how hard you tried, you weren't given your day in the sun, your sense of victory or accomplishment. Um, the other thing that I kind of get with this is going back to Maslow's hierarchies and needs, is that sometimes we get, there's a great lyric in a Jewel song, that says, sometimes you get stuck on survive. And that's the hierarchy of needs. It's like, yes, having a roof over your head is important, having food on the table is important, but your interests, your spiritual goals, your hobbies, your bucket list, those make up your life, right? What contributes to a happy life is what gives your life meaning, right? What gives your life meaning? Do you want to be just doing the dirge day in and day out, to have the roof over your head, to have the fancy car, to have food, to have a steak dinner every night? Or is there something else that you want to be doing? Something else and I think the answer, and especially with this pile, I think the answer is the Six of Cups. What would make you feel like a child again? What would make you excited? Because we talked about that. Like, in the intro, I talked about how I came across my dad's record player, and it was great. I went through all of his records, and he had some really great ones in there, and all of my mom's records are in there, and all of my sister's records are in there, but none of the records were from my life. And then it not only brought back all these wonderful, warm memories, but I said, why not? Why don't I add albums, vinyl records that represent my life? And I got excited about it. I felt like a kid again, right? I got excited, and it brought back fond memories. I think that's what you're searching for. And and gosh, guys, I am getting a strong sense with both the moon and the star. I think you work really hard all day, and then at night before you go to bed, that's the time that you wish when I'm hearing Jiminy Crickets, when you wish upon a star. Or you like talking to the moon. But I do get a sense that you are pulling inward, but I'm getting a strong sense that you don't know you don't know how you're going to find this happiness. But I think that you feel like it feels elusive, it feels otherworldly. Um, the other thing that I get, and definitely with this combination of cards, and I just have to say it as I read it, um, and believe me, I'm right there with you. Sometimes when you've experienced lack, when you didn't have, if you ever grew up in a situation where, and believe me, we've all been there, there's absolutely no shame. There was definitely times where I'd go up to my mom and I'd be like, hey, I want to start taking these type of lessons. I remember I really wanted to play the saxophone, but have you ever checked the price of a saxophone, not even including lessons? They're expensive as all get out. So a lot of times, when you have those dreams, and who knows, maybe if I had gotten the saxophone, maybe I'd be a world class saxophonist and not reading cards for a living. Who knows? But but it's almost like you saying, like, when you get raised like that, and we said it in the intro in the how-to part, you get entrenched in the adult way of thinking, right? So a lot of times, all you know is going to work and making the money to put the roof over their head and the food. That's all you know. Roof, food, work, roof, food, work, sleep. And I think I think the other thing is that I think you're having a tough time getting into that childlike mindset. Like, it's hard for you to wish upon a star, but I do sense that that's what you're doing. I also get a sense that you're kind of throwing it out to the universe, like, okay, how can I have how can I really have that joyful life? But I do think that this might be pivotal because of something that you're doing. You might be questioning what you're doing for your job, or you might be feeling a little stressed out. The other thing that I get is, because these are both wands, I just feel like you take a lot of action, but you feel like, I get a strong sense that you just maybe don't get the recognition. You work so hard, but it's like it's almost like your labor goes to to support everything but yourself. Like, it does feel a little bit like a crisis, just one of those healthy ones too. Going through a crisis of thought or faith is important, because that's what keeps you on the right track throughout your life, right? We don't have so many years on this planet. How do you want to spend those years if you don't stop and take stock and say, okay, I'm not happy. What would make me happy? What would give me that childlike joy? I need to go for it now, right? Time's a wasting. You know, what is that song? Time's a wasting. Oh, you know what it is? This is crazy that this song is coming in my head. It's a really odd one. If you've ever seen the movie Walk the Line with June Carter, it's Reese Witherspoon as June Carter, and Joaquin Phoenix as Johnny Cash. There's that song, and she got upset about singing it because it was with her ex-husband. But she goes, well, you've got, time's a wasting, or it's like, you got arms and I've got arms. Let's get together and use those arms. Let's go. Time's a wasting. So again, I feel like, whatever is important to you, whatever victory or whatever sense of accomplishment that you did not have in the past, you're tired of wasting your energy. You just want to be happy. You just want to be happy. But I think it's hard for you because you're so used to the working, kind of aspect of things. It's what you're accustomed to. Now, the future is interesting. You've got the Hierophant in the reverse, and you've got the Four of Cups. And these cards really speak a lot because they're based on fairy tales. And what's interesting is the Four of Cups we had a tarot on 2 weeks ago. If you get a chance, check out that video. But what was interesting about this rendition is that this is the Emperor. And what it is the nightingale's song is what the nightingale's song is the elixir of youth. It's what makes the by hearing the song is what makes the emperor live forever. And but he's never able to find the nightingale, so he has his jewelers try to recreate the nightingale, right? They make these music boxes that are made of gold and jewels that are shaped, like the nightingale that sings, that plays music. But what I see here is that the Hierophant in this deck it's a Native American, it's Dakota, and it's the legend of South Dakota. And what it is that she is the medicine man or the medicine woman, and she is the person who teaches all of the tribes the traditions. So there's consistency and there's reliability. But what I see here is I see the Hierophant in the reverse and the Four of Cups underneath. What I get the sense is that I do get a sense that I am getting a little bit of a lack of faith. The other thing that I get is that maybe you're kind of bucking the norms. Like you don't, and honestly, I'm getting a sense like maybe there was some kind of tradition, or there was some kind of mores imposed upon you in childhood, where later on in life, in the future, I don't see you really being big on fixed religion, and that can be New Age too, right? It doesn't just have to be. But what I'm kind of seeing is that I'm getting a sense that I get the sense that you don't want to you don't want to rely on any. It's almost like you don't want to. I get the strong sense that you're hesitant of anything that would make you feel tied down or make you feel like you have to follow rules. And the emperor did that too. He broke rules. He kind of went on his own path. But what you see is you do see him trying to recreate happiness when the real happiness was right behind him the whole time, right? In the story of the Nightingale, and that's another Hans Christian Andersen tale. In the tale of the Nightingale finally comes to the emperor at the end of his life and sings the song that gives him that, helps, brings him back to life. So what I'm kind of seeing here is that I'll be honest, it's quite possible that there might be some religious symbols that you're seeing. There might be kind of a call to God, like this nightingale that's calling out to you might be some kind of structured religion, but you really don't want to turn to that. You don't want to rely on that. You want to find, it's almost like you want to go with your ideas of what would bring you happiness. But I will just say this, maybe keep an open perspective, because the nightingale was the true happiness in that story. So you might find the solution in some kind of, and again, it can be Christianity, it can be Buddhism, it can be Zen, it can be, studying chakras, it can be studying stones or energy. Maybe if you open up to that, you will turn and see the nightingale, right? I kind of sense that, like, in the future, the universe is trying to give you the solution or show you the signs of what would bring you this happiness. But again, I feel like you're so used to tried and true. The other thing is that, and this is okay. I do also think that you don't rely on anything that you can't see and feel and touch, right? You don't go through your life saying, okay, well, I'm just going to bank on being, that everything's going to come together. I think that you were not raised with that kind of mentality, and it's very ingrained, right? Because this is also an emperor, right? He's raised royal, right? So he's used to, used to what he does, throw money around, let this, I will create the perfect nightingale. I don't need to find the nightingale. I can create it. But I do get the sense like the nightingale is your sense of faith. right? Because that is what brings a sense of purpose, brings you happiness, but also being strong in your faith. And again, that does not need to be, a belief in God. It can be a belief in a higher power. It can be, and I do get the sense that you are probably going to go forward and journey a little bit. Like it's going to take, the other thing I get is that it might take a little bit of an experimentation, because the other thing is about that story, Hans did go with the Snow Queen, right? And later he came back. He came back to what he knew to be correct. So, and your oracle cards really play into this too. The other thing that I kind of get is that maybe you're spurred to try or experiment things because you are feeling faithless, right? And that's not a bad thing. When we feel lost, what do? When you feel lost, you go on a journey to what they say, you got to lose yourself to find yourself. And this is really great. You got boat, receiving what you need, progression, arriving, closure issues, moving on. So again, closure issues, maybe if there was something missing in your past, something that you really, that you needed, you can go in search of it, right? The emperor was in search of the nightingale. He tried to recreate the nightingale. He at least, the other thing I kind of get is at least it's putting you in a direction, right? You go, and the other thing is in Lenormand, boats mean journeys. You also got the sword and the rose, and this is such a consistent energy because in all three decks there was at least one sword represented. And this is a beautiful card because it says clarity, truth, revelation, solidarity, force, honor, protection, power. So I do think that you are going to find yourself. The other thing that I get is that you're going to do it on your own terms. You're really going to go on a journey. This kind of read really kind of makes me think of those people who had like stodgy day jobs. Maybe you worked as a lawyer for 30 years and then all of a sudden you just felt like I can't do this anymore. And then, I don't know, you quit your job, joined Greenpeace and, went to Malaysia to serve. I kind of see that kind of energy. Like you're going to do something that's never been heard of and doesn't really conform to the norm. Maybe this is what's going to make you feel free, as just breaking away from what people expect you to do. And the last card you got hammer, and it says sabotage, rebuilding, interrogation, repetitive, persistent, working on it, guys. So the other thing that I kind of get is that maybe you're breaking down some part of your life in order to rebuild it better. Either that or, I'm also kind of getting that maybe you do a few trial and errors, The other thing that I get is when you do find something that you really believe in, I do get the sense like you've seen those movies like Under the Tuscan Sun, where she goes through what is it, the Holiday, where people, the two women switch houses. Kind of something like that, like something big is happening in your life and you just want to be happy, so you just kind of do something completely out of the ordinary. You got to go on a journey. It's like this moment of truth, this moment of clarity. The other thing with the hammer is sometimes it can be, breaking down some kind of old construct. So with this energy here, I do think that you might have some beliefs that were instilled in childhood, like you can never be successful, or you can never have your day in the sun because you had to work so hard, or because you just felt like you were not. But those are self-fulfilling prophecies, and you can dig deep. You can cultivate your own earth and rebuild yourself to a new place that makes you happy. And sometimes it is the other thing is the star follows the tower. The hammer is kind of like, let me break down this adult me and start again with the inner child me and just kind of rebuild it from there. That's kind of what I'm getting. And I get the sense that, you know, you don't have to be conventional to do that. You know, the other thing I get is that you kind of have an idea of what would make you happy, and you just, maybe you need to go on a journey and make a few mistakes, and it'll give you a whole lot of clarity. But that boat is really about, the boat does talk about it being, you know, being an adventure, right? It being, you know, it's not just, you know, a straight line. You know, you're going to have twists and turns that really define you, and it's okay to you know, to not do things, you know, according to what other people expect of you. Wow, guys. Oh my gosh. That was real powerful. That was real powerful, but all right. Well, again, I love this card. I always smile when I see it. You know, it speaks of, kindred spirits and good friends and old memories, and all the things that are warm and good and friendly and familiar. But I thank you so much for joining me today. I will be back again on Saturday for the weekly energy card reading. And then after that, we are going to return. I will be covering this deck. I'm going to be doing another deck review closer to Valentine's Day that talks about all my lovey decks. There was one deck that I was looking to buy, but it doesn't look like it's going to be available, well, you know, in time for the holidays. So I'll go ahead and go through all my other ones, and but I will definitely post it here on my channel. And if you get a chance to check it out, I would love for you to do that. And I hope that you have a good week, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.